But the point is, you got Joe Burrow. You've got these two receivers signed up. I think, hey, you got P. Ryan back. Little things like that might help this offense get even better next year. Gesicki seems like he's going to be a fixture there, right? Chase Brown was great this year. Yep. Improve the offensive line. Continue to improve the offensive line if you can. But I think the main thing you've got to do is load up on defense in the draft. And so this is maybe the most important draft in Joe Burrow's career, and it's not offense. Welcome to the Greenlight Podcast presented by BetMGM. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code GREENLIGHT, and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code GREENLIGHT. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. If that bet loses, you will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Just make sure you use bonus code GREENLIGHT when you sign up. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the studio. Haven't been in this studio in a while. I don't think I have. Cowboy?
It would have been after the Super Bowl.
Like just after?
Yeah. The Monday reaction show.
Here we are. We're back.
Spring break, Chris.
Spring break, yeah. Did you do a little spring breaking?
We just all had the flu, and kids. I know they did something. Oh, they went to Richmond, Virginia for a morning.
For what?
It jumped around. You know.
Is it?
Yeah. They're too little. We can't go on a trip or anything.
Well, that's what I thought as well.
Well,
but we decided to fly all the way to Arizona. My wife was like, it'll be fine. 40 minutes into the line at Philadelphia International Airport with my 19-month-old screaming like a fucking terrorist. People staring at us. Yeah. Not cool.
Did it keep going like that?
Kept going for most of the flight. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say like the whole flight, but it at one point I turned to my wife and said, we're never doing this again.
Well, she's only going to get older. That's how time works.
But she's going to be 7, and I'm not going to take her anywhere.
At least your bigs are bigger.
Yeah, the bigs did well. Give them both an iPad and totally good.
And they'll have memories of the trip.
Totally, and we made a lot of memories. So, wait, you went to Richmond.
I didn't go. No.
They went to Richmond.
I went to work.
Did they have like an appointment in Richmond or something?
No, Kate just took them. They had a blast. Many came back with a lot of stories. But I didn't have enough.
Sounds like they just went to. You just drove them down there. They, as I understand it, you parked the car. They got out and they jumped around.
Oh,
and they got back in the car.
So there was some sort of building that welcomes children. They have all sorts of colors and apparatus to climb around on and stuff.
You get any more information?
It's like a fun house. I got tons of pictures and videos.
You act like it's like unfortunate that you went to work. I would have loved to have gone to work.
It was, yeah. You see those rankings of the days of the week.
Yeah,
I'm like Monday's creeping up there pretty high.
Monday through Friday, top 5. Yeah. The weekends,
tough.
They were tough. And then when you go to when you have a spring break, it's basically like a big weekend.
Yes.
But we had fun. We went to Arizona. The flight thing is not advisable. I always struggle with kids on flights, not because I'm struggling, but because I'm anticipating other people being super upset and indignant about the fact that they paid $200 to get on this flight and they didn't expect kids to be on it. There's a lot of people like that.
I think it's the first part. I think it's that you're a considerate person.
Yeah, I'm trying to be considerate.
You feel bad if somebody feels inconvenient.
Yes, that's right.
But then you're also ready for the
confrontation.
Yeah.
Did you notice any eyes, any bad looks?
No, everybody was really nice.
Good.
Shout out to the teacher that was sitting in front of my kids. It's like it was a very fortunate situation. Wasn't Miss Appleberry.
Sort of situation?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
But Miss Rachel has a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Silly Miss Lily?
I don't know her name.
Or
Where's yellow?
There's oh yeah,
Oh, she just kind of popped in there.
I know her. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, a week in Arizona. I'm not a big Arizona guy. No offense to anybody in Arizona. Not enough trees. Highways are like Mad Max. It's either really hot or
Well, I was going to ask
it's not.
what the weather was.
Well, it rained half the week, which was actually pretty abnormal.
Wow.
Made things a little tougher with young kids, but we found things to do all the time. We did go to Sedona. That was my favorite part of the trip. If anybody listening or watching has been to Sedona, you know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't and you have an opportunity to go to Sedona, I would.
Were those the pictures of the hike with the kid?
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
That looked dope.
It was unbelievable. We left the baby at home,
Smart.
which helped. But like sandstone, rock formations, literally not being an Arizona guy, you're driving north from Phoenix and you're like, ugh, just more Arizona. And then you get up towards Sedona and it's unbelievable. There are trees. The mountains are red. You see the Cathedral Rocks formation. We had a super cool guide that took us on a hike with the kids. His name's Derek. Shout out to Derek. And Derek told me about a lot of the hippie activity that goes on in Sedona.
I bet there's a healthy amount.
Yeah, like you get up on these big rocks. You got to like climb up and it's nice and flat. And they say that like during a full moon, people will congregate up there on the rocks with like bongos and shit, and like they're carrying big crystals up the mountain. Yeah.
They haven't showered in days.
Well, I didn't get. Yeah, I don't want to pigeonhole them.
This is like a Burning Man light.
Well, there's 4 vortexes in Sedona,
What does that
which are
mean?
basically like energy fields. It's pretty crazy. So they say Sedona has like a lot of energy.
Yeah.
If you're into that stuff, Sedona's like a place where you come to meditate and escape your worldly responsibilities under the guise of like spirituality,
Huh.
which I'm considering doing. I was like, yeah, let me get the number for these crystal people. I might be back. Do you drop everything? Do I have to grow dreadlocks?
Is there a? I wonder if there's a crystal store you have to pick up your own crystal.
There are
at.
crystal stores.
Really?
There's but you know what's another cool thing about Sedona? They have a McDonald's. Sedona's got pull, where this fucking McDonald's is the only McDonald's I've ever seen without a yellow arch.
Oh.
In fact, it has no arch coming out of the McDonald's. Like Sedona's got pull like that, where they're like, if you want to have a McDonald's, you can't be putting a big arch on top of the McDonald's. It's fucking up the ambiance of the Red Rocks. We're only going to allow you to have one arch, and it's on the side of the building, and it's got to be turquoise.
Ooh.
Because everything out there is like turquoise and pastel, because it's real, Southwestern. I think it's really cool. We stopped at that McDonald's.
I read something. Remember when we were growing up, how the McDonald's had play spaces?
Look at that shit. Look at that arch right there. Is that not cool?
That is cool.
That's the coolest looking McDonald's you've ever seen.
Yeah, breaking bad vibes to that
Yeah, for sure.
particular McDonald's.
For sure.
Remember we could crawl around in tubes in McDonald's and
yeah.
stuff, and there were ball pits and
Playpen.
stuff. Yeah, and you don't see those anymore, apparently because they hooked all of us. Our generation's like the really unhealthy cats,
Yeah.
And so as we grew older, McDonald's changed their vibe to all these sort of vibey-less, characterless facades.
Yeah, there's no more Grimace.
Right.
There's no more Hamburglar. You ask most kids who Grimace is, they have no idea.
Yeah.
There's no Ronald McDonald statue in most of the McDonald's. McDonald's is losing some of its luster.
You know what I think of when I think of Arizona?
What?
The Lute Olson ass logo of those 90s basketball teams where the cactus was the eye.
No, I mean, listen, there's a lot of cool cacti out there. I learned a lot about the agave plant, etc. Giant saguaro cactuses. I mean, there are some cool areas in Arizona. We should have gone to the Grand Canyon, but we didn't have enough time. Here's another. We did Great Wolf Lodge. Anybody been to a Great Wolf Lodge?
I know there's one. There's one in Virginia.
Yeah, there's one in Virginia.
This is the Arizona one.
Which is just basically like Piss City. It's an indoor water park and it's Piss City. Yet, if I were like a sheik or somebody, I would absolutely rent one out for myself because it's spectacular. But you're swimming in urine. Like there's a lazy river and everything. Like you know what's going on in there. Like you absolutely know what's going on there. And I feel like an indoor water park makes it a little bit more like
moldy.
ugh.
Yeah.
You know, even though it probably doesn't change the fact that people are urinating in the water, like the fact that it's inside. Now, this was a classy Great Wolf Lodge in Scottsdale. I think it was that one. Yeah, it had like rope
All the
courses and
structures?
shit. Yeah, it's
Damn,
very cool.
badass.
Every 30 minutes in the water park, there's a big like howling wolf sound. It was sick. So enjoyed Great Wolf Lodge. And then maybe my favorite place was the aquarium in Scottsdale.
Okay. Well,
What?
mixed feelings, about the captivity of it all.
Yeah, but I think most of those animals like bitched up and couldn't live in the wild anymore.
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay.
There's like a process there.
Yeah.
Like if you drop some of these captivity sea lions back into the wild, they'd be lunched by an orca in a heartbeat. They've lost it, so to speak.
Yeah.
The aquarium was incredible. We go in the aquarium. It ends up being a great time, but like down to things like we go in the bathroom and it's got this fucking state of the art. Like the bathroom is very cool. You look through the wall where the mirror is supposed to be behind where you wash your hands and it's sharks.
That's cool.
It was really cool. But of course my dad is like, guys, let's get some pictures.
In the bathroom?
Oh, in the bathroom. Like he's posing the kids in front of the sink and he's like, Chris, get in here. There's a line of 3 people waiting to wash their hands. And like, me, I'm like, get me the fuck out. I go, no, Dad, I think I'll skip. And I walk out in the hallway. But it was an incredible aquarium. They had a stingray touch exhibit that was like second to none. You're allowed to touch all the stingrays, touch as many stingrays and skates as you want, but you got to touch them with 2 fingers. They don't like 5 fingers.
Yeah.
And so Waylon and I were sitting there for like an hour. He said 36 stingrays.
Wow.
And so it was my mom's birthday yesterday. Happy birthday, D-Lo. And his birthday card said, happy birthday, Grandma. You're the best grandma in the world. I touched all 36 of those stingrays for you.
Wow.
So it was a good trip. And
hold up a piece of paper with 36 on it.
yeah, well, no, that's his new career high. It was 26 points in basketball this year. Now it's 36 stingrays. We had a great time in the aquarium. Great Wolf Lodge. Would recommend. Get all your shots before you go. Sedona was awesome. I saw the eclipse. Did you guys see the eclipse?
Nah,
I know you
missed.
didn't see the
can't
eclipse.
get moved by an eclipse.
What day was this?
March 13th and 14th. It was a blood moon and an eclipse. Look, what's wrong with me? It was an eclipse. I went outside. And a widow moon was turning red. And so it was like advertised all day. I was talking about. I was like, we got a blood moon and an eclipse and everything. And so we're in Arizona. You figure that's like the place you want to see an eclipse. Not a lot of clouds and shit.
Right.
So I walk outside and I get in formation to see the eclipse, and my wife's going to bed. And she's like, let me know if you see the eclipse. And I'm like, all right, I'll call you. And so I call her from from downstairs. And she's like, okay, I'm coming. And she comes outside and she goes, it's like a full-blown eclipse. And it hasn't turned red yet. But it's a full-blown fucking eclipse, dude. The sun's behind the moon or whatever the fuck that is. Hey, and when I tell you, she turned to me and said, it's not even that red. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I give you an eclipse and it's not good enough, And then I call my mom, who's inside too, and she's like, no, it's not. It's clouds. That's not an eclipse. That's not an eclipse. Send me a picture. I'm like, walk outside. What is it with women and eclipses? Seriously, they're not good enough for you guys? Nothing's good enough for you guys.
Good on you trying to include other people in your eclipse. I'm sorry that they didn't take.
Here's the difference. When I called my dad, he at least just clearly didn't give a shit. Like, he just didn't give a shit. Like, my mom, though, wanted to keep me on the phone for 30 seconds. Describe the eclipse. Like, walk outside. And then my wife comes out, it's not red enough. Is that not a microcosm of trying to make the women in your life happy? Check this out. Not only a full-blown eclipse, but also a blood moon eclipse. Nah, not red enough.
In the desert, too. Probably like that accentuated. Like,
I'm not saying you can't keep women happy. People are unhappy generally. It's not just women. But most guys, we're a little bit simpler. We'd be like, oh, big moon red. This is so cool. But like not them. It's not good enough. Wasn't red enough.
did you at least stay out there?
Yeah, alone.
Okay, all right.
Like alone.
Yeah.
Like nobody to watch the eclipse with. How fucking sad is that?
Did you take?
Yeah, they weren't very good. And then the next morning, I told my parents, I sent them like a Google image picture of like the dopest picture of the fucking blood moon eclipse ever. And I was like, yo, I took this last night. And they were like, oh, that's pretty good. Like, how'd you do that? I go portrait mode and dark mode at the same time. And they were like, wow. But my dad was like, wow, cool. Like didn't even like, wasn't even like, that's an incredible picture.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
Yeah.
It sounds like he just doesn't like eclipses.
Sounds like my whole family's anti-eclipse, and it's fucking sad. So, anyways, but if you talk to him about free agency, oh man, did you see what happened? Did you see they got Will Fries? All right. So, anyways, my family does not give a shit about things that I'm interested in.
Sounds like you had more plot to your spring break than the White Lotus has had in 4 or 5 episodes.
You haven't liked it so far.
I have not.
Spoiler alert!
Really? No. And I love it, but uninteresting characters not developing for one.
Seriously, that whole the girl trip and the Eastern Bloc guys that all work in Thailand, like terrible group of people.
Right. Who clearly did the first burglary. Like they just, the smash and grab. That was those guys.
Oh, you think it was them for sure? Yeah.
And
Hollow Man, the Thai Sam Bradford.
Yeah.
You know that guy looks like Sam Bradford, the security guard?
Yeah. Guy talk.
Bro, spoiler alert, if you're watching White Lotus, which you should, even though
you should, yes.
Like Mike White's so good at this that
Very
even
well
if you're
done.
not into the formula is going to work in perpetuity. They just might run out of resorts.
Yeah.
But I think the formula works great. But it is, which part were we just talking about?
Guy talk, Sam Bradford.
Oh, when he got that gun stolen from him,
Yeah.
he waited until sundown to check the recording.
Yes.
Like he's terrible at his job.
Very bad.
Like just awful at his job. But does he not look a little like Sam Bradford?
He does. He does.
Like Ty Sam Bradford.
I can't stop seeing it.
If this guy were a defense, he'd be the 2024 Bengals. He really would.
Oh, he looks much different
He looks different in real life.
Yeah. He's really playing this character well.
Yeah. Total coward.
And hey, my guy Jason Isaac's accent, he went and bitched and moaned to Variety to try to have them write a puff piece, which they did, that he was doing a very specific Durham, North Carolina accent. I know plenty of people in Durham. It doesn't come out Australian. Guy's a Brit trying to do Southern, and it comes out Australian every other sentence.
I'm just too mystified by his wife, who is the perfectly cast Mid-Atlantic woman.
Yeah.
The perfectly cast
Parker
ACC
Posey.
woman, dude.
Yep. Great meme potential from last night where this is not a spoiler. Jason Isaacs puts a gun to his head while wearing a Duke t-shirt, which is going to work for every Duke
great.
loss for the rest of time.
Hey, funniest line last night. Hey, you want to move to Taiwan?
Yeah, that was best. Yeah,
That was pretty good.
that was great.
Hey, I'll give you a worst seat because we're gonna be getting into what do you think the worst seat was the worst seat of this whole season was Goggins' character
Oh my
having
God,
to sit
dude!
with his friend in Thailand.
Who's that? Sam Rockwell.
Sam Rockwell talking about.
That was.
I guess I was fucking me.
I think that was. The
It was
best
kinda
part
magical.
of the season so far.
I was 100% sure that he was at the end going to be like, "I'm fucking with you,"
Yeah, right.
but nah.
Nah, that was 5 minutes of a monologue of ladyboys and his words, not mine. That was insane.
The way it just kept descending.
And Goggins' reactions.
And I'm not saying that the actresses are doing a bad job. I don't think that that group is working out.
Right. They're not being given anything to work with.
No. It's also like one of those trips where you're like, why would you take this trip together?
Right. We get it. You all don't like each other. You're pretending to like each other.
But it was
still,
like they hadn't talked in years. Like that's
Right.
that's like a nightmare scenario, like having to go on a vacation with friends from like 20 years ago who you haven't talked to.
Yeah.
Let's start with a night at the bar. NFL news. Big news today is Jordan Schultz. It's twins. We get to break two. Jordan Schultz gets two big scoops. He gets T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Same time. That's a best seat candidate. What a story. Like we're kind of on the edge of our seat all off season wondering, like, when's Jamar getting paid? Is that going to mean? Almost certainly it means T. Higgins isn't going to be a Bengal in the future. Plus, on top of that, you have Trey Hendrickson. The Bengals don't pay anybody. Yada, yada, yada. Who's going to play defense for this team? Well, they paid them both. And that makes them, this is an interesting tweet from Jason OTC. The Bengals will certainly be a case study. They now have $124 million per year invested in the top QB, top two wide receivers. Dolphins are second at $111.4 million. Eagles are third at $108 million. Cowboys are fourth at $98.5 million, and Lions fifth at $88.3 million. So mixed bag when it comes to paying like a trio, so to speak, or some combination of that, because you get the Lions, who are thought of as being an organization that's run really well right now, as well as the Eagles. The Dolphins just haven't been able to round the corner, and the Cowboys are kind of a laughingstock this time of year because they're not doing a damn thing. Yet you look at that and you're like, damn, well, they got a lot of money tied up in CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott and company. So the numbers were what, Nolan, on these deals?
Yeah, so the numbers for Chase, he benefited greatly from his deal coming after the Myles Garrett extension. His deal came out to just over $40 million per year, making him the highest paid non-QB of all time. And then Higgins' deal comes out to just about a little over $28 per year. He's going to sit just below that $30 million club in the receiver market, but certainly puts him at the top of the market within that group. And as they stated there, the highest paid wide receiver 2 of all time.
Quick time out here. Macon asked who the third Cowboy is. I think that's just Dak and CD.
Goodness gracious.
I think it's the new Kevontae Turpin deal.
Oh.
The Turpin deal? What's the Turpin deal now?
He's about like 4.5. So they have that much money tied up between those two.
He's got a tiny slice of the pie.
Yeah.
But listen, if they can get Trey Hendrickson done, which it kind of feels like, it feels like they will, honestly, because of what it sounded like they did in the beginning of this process, which is just jack the price up of this guy. Bengals fans are saying like they only know the value of their players when they're shopping them. And it sounded like they wanted too much for Trey, who I think is obviously an amazing player. But he is in his 30s now, and you're talking about, like, I don't know what they were asking. Were they asking for a 1? I'm not sure. But supposedly the compensation they were seeking was laughable, per Diana Rossini. Not in those words. It seems like that was kind of just a process they were putting Trey through to say, hey, we tried to trade you, and now we're going to play hardball with you again. And I kind of wonder if part of them is like, listen, last year when you held out with no guarantees on your deal, yada, 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 you lost the game of chicken. And I think once he lost that game of chicken, part of the Bengals is maybe like, well, he's going to lose it again. Like, he's just not that type of guy who's going to hold out the whole season or anything like that. Like, Trey Hendrickson loves football too much. Maybe that's what they're banking on, and maybe they can get him at a reasonable number. The memes floating around are, you know, the joke on the internet right now is like, who's playing defense for the Bengals? This is a year, and it is akin to the Philly thing. If you can draft well and you really load up on defense and you have like an 8 out of 10 draft, you can get the ball rolling again in Cincy. But you have to do that. You know, you talk about all this money tied up in the offense and then like in possibly Trey Hendrickson. Like right now on defense, who'd you mention? They got Osai back, but Miles Murphy's starting at defensive end, which is not like – that's not a good sign.
Right. Only 20 pressures for him all of last season. So, you know, not quite the production you want to see from, you know, if you think of it like a receiver room, like a number one guy as far as, you know, edge rushers go.
It is stressful to play a team like the Bengals to say, like, I know their defense is terrible, but we're going to have to score 40 points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, that's another way to do it. You know, and maybe it doesn't seem sustainable. And traditionally, that sounds like a terrible strategy, but maybe they're just embracing that strategy as a floor. Like, even if you look at their team last year and they were terrible, they will expect to be better on defense this year. Like, they hit the reset button, they fired their guy. But, Make, you remember how many games they damn near won?
Yeah.
I mean, they had Kansas City dead to rights. They had Baltimore dead to rights twice.
Should have beaten New England week 1. Remember, they'll lose week 1. They always lose week 1.
They always lose the first month of the season. But, I mean, if you look back at last year, and obviously, if you took most teams that were kind of 500 and maybe just missed the playoffs or what have you, you'd say, hey, like, you're playing a big game of what if. And look how predictably this season came out. You lose the first 3 games. You're up and down. You lose some games you're not supposed to lose, like the Baltimore game, like the Kansas City game. I mean, shit, the Washington game. It took Jaden Daniels' coming out party to beat him. You know, they get thumped by Philly. I thought that was the game where they had no shot. And then obviously the LA game was just an embarrassment. The LA game in LA was one of the wildest games I've ever seen.
8 losses on the season, 7 by 1 score or less.
And I thought they lost that shootout, you know, when they hosted Pittsburgh fair and square. I felt like they just made too many mistakes. And the story in all these games is going to be mistakes. They made so many. But my point is, if you look at this team and you're trying to sell yourself on the future, like running it back with the same group and hopefully improving the defense by 20%, if you can do that, they could be an 11-win team. That's the way they're thinking. Like, that's who they were last year. They didn't execute. Even with as bad as the defense was, they made mistakes. Like any team, I guess, that kept them out of the dance. The difference is if I apply that logic to some shitty team that hasn't been there before. This team's been in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was. Not 3 years ago. How many years ago was that? 4 at this point? But the point is, you got Joe Burrow. You've got these 2 receivers signed up. I think, hey, you got P. Ryan back. Little things like that might help this offense get even better next year. Gesicki seems like he's going to be a fixture there, right? Chase Brown was great this year. Yep. Improve the offensive line. Continue to improve the offensive line if you can. But I think the main thing you've got to do is load up on defense in the draft. And so this is maybe the most important draft in Joe Burrow's career, and it's not offense.
Yeah. Keeping that core together of Chase and Higgins is certainly a better alternative to letting Higgins go, not paying Gesicki, and then adding a couple above-average pieces on defense. You want to roll out with the high-octane offense and take your chances on defense in the draft. You have 3 top 100 picks. Those can be good players.
Up front, what kind of year is it in the draft for defensive line?
It sounds pretty deep with the D-line group, especially edge rushers too, which is big for them. Obviously, we talked about Miles Murphy. They need to see another step from him. And they'll also be banking on Chris Jenkins Jr., who they took in the 2nd round last year out of Michigan to take another step. He had 3 sacks this past year as a rookie, but definitely need more production across the board, and that's whether Hendrickson's there or not.
And, I really do think that's what it ends up being with Hendrickson, unless they change their tune and they ask for a lot less. Because, I could see an argument for letting him walk if you get premium capital that's coming down the pipe right now.
Yeah.
Like, there's no waiting a year to enjoy the fruits of your labor and shipping Trey out of town. Like, you've got to get a 2025 pick in the top 100, in my opinion, because when you have a quarterback like Joe and we're this far into the experiment, like you can't, hey, a year down the line with this defense. You have to attack this defense now in the draft.
Do you have any commentary on the defensive coordinator himself, your former coach, Al Golden?
Oh, it's Al Golden. I mean, I don't have commentary on Al as far as like his scheme.
What if he's got a pack of young guys, though? He's probably the right guy for a group like that.
That
right?
works out well.
Yeah.
To your point, that's a good point. Is like, listen, if it's going to be 8 rookies and 6 of them are going to play like meaningful snaps this year, like, yeah, it would help a guy to have a guy that just coached in college and can relate to these guys and understands the dynamic of who these guys are right now in the NIL era and what their makeup is and yada yada yada. But the bottom line is, like, it doesn't matter if you don't nail the picks.
Yep.
And so I can't speak to what Al's going to be as a defensive coach. I mean, Al coached me in 2006, 7. Like, I love Al Golden. Awesome dude. Al Grove's staff was him, Bobby Diaco, Mark D'Onofrio, just a bunch of psychos from the Northeast.
Mm-hmm.
And Al's a great dude, and he's a hard ass too. So,
and at 55, he's got a nice fade working.
He looks good.
He looks really good.
He's got a look.
Yeah.
Fashion glasses.
Yep.
I wore those to dinner last night.
Oh, how'd it go?
That might be my midlife crisis.
Wow.
Fashion glasses.
Were they see-through in the whole?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, that was huge news, and of course Jordan Schultz broke both those stories. Jordan Schultz never has to per me and.
Yeah, he just rips.
He's just him.
Yeah.
Who's he work for?
I think it's Fox Sports.
Boy, that has to really stick in your craw if you're somebody who's in the business of news breaking and they got to watch Jordan Schultz land twins. It's crazy. The other story is Derek Stingley. Huge deal. As y'all pointed out, damn near fully guaranteed. It's crazy.
Ain't bad.
What is his medical like? Perfect?
I've never seen that.
It's wild. The analytics say this guy's never going to get hurt. And he's going to be very productive too. I love this secondary in Houston. I love the C.J. Gardner-Johnson ad. Stingley's been a stud. And it's pretty interesting that 2 second-generation guys reset the market, and now he's leapfrogging them. But, like, you had Pat Surtain, who got absolutely paid $24 million a year, and then J.C. Horn, $25 million a year. Derek Stingley at 30.
Just blew it out of the water.
Crazy. Good for him. Worst seat, guys like me, we're doing well. I'm doing great. I mean, like, no, I'm not saying this but like, I'm happy. Got everything I wanted out of my career. And we got paid a lot better than the generation before us. And we were paid too much, right? Like, we're all paid too much. But these guys now, you look at some of these deals, whew, I say this with zero hate in my heart. Zero.
That's hate.
Yeah, if Nate was here, he'd say that's hate. But God, dog, dude, this is yacht money.
But inflation.
You're right. I don't know if that accounts for all of this, though.
Okay.
It's pretty wild, man. I mean, this is yacht money. This is G4 money. Like, the third rusher on an NFL team has got yacht money. I was born a little too soon,
2012 salary cap was $120.6 million.
So you're telling me that when I got paid in 12, it was 12, I would have got paid 2x that?
Yeah, I mean, if we just go by the salary cap, it has more than doubled since that point, just over 10 years later.
You timed it pretty well because the new CBA was when.
No question. I was the last guy of the old CBA.
That's crazy.
Well, no, Sam was.
Okay.
That helps a lot.
Yeah.
But golly, you think about like, hey, your vet minimum contracts at the end and yada. I'll tell you what, if the cap was the way in 17 or 16, I might not have been chasing rings. You know what I'm saying? Playing for 1.5 a year in Philly. No chance. I'd have been a Carolina Panther. Goodness gracious. But you know what? I always wonder when I played when we were going to make the baseball money. And it's here. I mean, this feels like baseball money to me. I can remember used to watch the baseball contracts like, damn, like, wouldn't it be nice? These guys are making that much money now, especially QBs and such. I mean, Josh Allen's making like
$250 guaranteed, $330 max value, yeah.
Good for them.
But now you can't have more than $250,000 in a bank account, right? Else it's not insured if it's over that. How do you work that out? Spread them out, multiple accounts?
Whole lot of bank accounts.
Diversify
your bonds.
housing, stocks, bonds.
Stocks, yeah, bonds.
Okay. 529.
Emerging markets.
Yep.
Real estate.
Crypto, Buckcoin.
Yeah. Cooper Kupp headed to Seattle. I think this is a pretty simple one. It's still a lot of money, right? Like, people were like, Cooper Kupp doesn't have it anymore. And I was like, And then the next day I was like, man, he just, what, how much money did he get?
Cooper Kupp, 3-year deal, worth $45 million.
They were like, yeah, he's washed. And then they're like, yeah, here's like 50 mil over 3 years. I think he's going to help up there. Because what you're going to get is a motivated vet, right? He can play the whole, like, I mean, he's playing for a division rival. That's kind of a wild thing. Like, I know he'd never say something out loud, but they definitely, like, just kind of counted him out. And for good reason, right? Like, he hasn't been healthy, you know, as of late. He hasn't played up to his, like, early 2020 standard. I mean, we're a far cry from that. Devontae Adams is an upgrade. But I think you're going to get a guy who's really healthy. He's going to play his best ball. When you're late in your career, they always talk about, my dad used to say this, knowledge elevator, physical elevator. They pass each other in their prime. So, like, your knowledge elevator goes up and your physical elevator goes down. And he's obviously at that state where his physical elevator's here, but his knowledge is getting way up here. And also, your motivation, you're clear-headed. He's playing with house money. He's won a Super Bowl. Like, he's in this thing to finish on his terms in the right way, whether it's one more contract or 2 more deals or whatever it is. I think it does add something to the equation when you consider the fact that LA was kind of like, no thanks, and we're going to upgrade. I'm not saying he hates Sean McVay or Matt Stafford. I'm just saying he's going to be motivated. And I think in Clint Kubiak's offense, like, it's really important that wide receivers block. He blocks his ass off. The one conversation Nolan and I were having was about, like, they still don't have a true outside threat because, like, JSN, as we said, can be kind of like your number one, but he's a slot guy. Cooper Kupp, this isn't old Cooper Kupp. He's not really a number one, right, at all. Like, he might be a number 2 for you. But the way that they condense the formations, maybe it works out for the slot guys because you really are kind of working from a slot alignment, depending on where you are in the field. The way they condense these sets, I actually think as a blocker, and in that right, they'll be able to work this thing out. And I think it's a good step in the right direction for the offense in Seattle.
And the quarterback's going to need to get it out quickly, in part because
the offensive
people
line
in his face, and he doesn't care for people in his face. And what Cooper does very well is get open within a step or 2 off the line.
Well, Cooper, you can definitely, like, screen game will be something that they'll rely on him for, and obviously as a blocker at the point of attack and all that quick game stuff. But more than anything, I think, like, when you consider last year, your wide receiver room maybe the best player in the room was, or the most heralded player in the room was DK Metcalf. And probably Lockett was the vet, but he's gone now. Like, you were going to have a room that was led by DK Metcalf. And I'm not saying he's a bad guy or anything like that at all, but like, he hasn't just been that kind of consummate leader kind of guy. You talk about a room now that your best player is JSN, and Cooper Kupp is a really good veteran in that room to bring along whoever they draft to be the outside guy, if that's what you're going to do. And I think, it's a move in the right direction for this group. And you'll probably get his best, as I said. So another wide receiver thing that we've been talking about is Stefon Diggs. I love the social media warfare now that skill guys wage. It's like they'll unfollow the team that they play for, or, they'll unfollow a quarterback. And now Stefon Diggs, in a very skill guy move, has reactivated once deleted pictures off his Instagram. I don't know what the proper term would be for that.
Unarchived.
He's unarchived all his Buffalo Bills pictures that he took off less than a year ago. This might be akin to a "you up, hey big head."
What it
Is this a "hey big head"?
Yeah.
Dog, do you remember 0405 Facebook when it was in a relationship or
Poke.
not?
Poke.
Yeah, we were poking people
Yeah,
left and right.
yeah.
That's what this is.
I poked my wife
Yeah,
back in the day.
as like a means of first contact.
No, it was like a hey,
Yeah,
like, hit me back.
yeah.
But yeah, no, he reactivated all the pictures, so now people think he's going to Buffalo, or that he wants to go to Buffalo. Do we want him back in Buffalo?
I don't know.
If
Joe Brady seemed to go away from that whole situation.
Yeah.
I don't want him back in
Successfully.
Buffalo. And I'm not anti Stefon Diggs. I like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So it felt like to me mentally Josh's process was really good last year.
Shakir, Coleman, Palmer, Samuel,
And Palmer's going to be good for them. I really do believe that.
Knox, and Kincaid.
I think Josh found something from a process standpoint last year. And although it might be implied that Diggs is not the same guy as he was maybe 3 years ago, and you'd like to think that would be baked into the whole conversation so you don't have to find him, right? Like, and you're not pressured to get him an amount of touches. But I would imagine that stuff was on a level disruptive, and I think you could speculate on that. But then when he leaves, it felt like Josh, the process got cleaner. The turnovers got cleaned up. And part of that could just be like a timing thing with Joe Brady coming in and cleaning up his thought process. Or it could be the emergence of Khalil Shakir, or the tight ends, how much you trust them, or the run game, all that stuff. But whatever it is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You can certainly help, right? Like, Josh Palmer is a help, right? But bringing Diggs back seems to me to be a little bit more risk than reward, especially when you consider, in my opinion, what kept them out of the dance. And you could boil it down to a 3rd and 4th down or whatever it was. Like, he didn't hit Shakir on the orbit motion, or, Knox drops the ball, or Kincaid drops the ball on 4th down. But that defense, I like to go back to that game. That defense was not competitive. They just shipped Elam to Dallas. Douglas is a free agent. I think Dane Jackson's back. There's a reunion there.
Yep.
But the bottom line is you gotta fix that defense. They brought in Bosa, right? Which hopefully it's not another Von Miller situation where, like, we thought he had more juice than he did, and obviously Bosa hasn't played a lot, but like, they got holes to fill on defense. So unless Diggs is going to play for free, I don't see I don't know what Diggs would cost off an injury.
Yeah.
At this age, but to me, even if he played for free, there'd be risk.
Yeah, it's all those macro level factors you laid out, Chris. And I also think, even if you just look at the skill set, kind of like what Mina mentioned on the show last week, if you're going to add anything to this receiver room, it would be speed. It's a good looking room top to bottom as far as the different flavors you have there. But if there's something you wanted to add, it would be kind of that real, like,
Xavier Worthy.
yeah, like something like that.
I got a guy for you, Nolan. 31-year-old Brandon Cooks.
Oof. Sign him up.
Available.
He would fit.
C-Long, I know you're bullish on this Josh Palmer. $12 million a year, 3 for 36.
You got to remember the numbers are totally just, they're not what you think they were. This is
Okay.
2025, bro. And honestly, they see something in him. I really do think they see something in him. I think they see him as a distressed asset. And that's crazy to me because he was just playing with a guy with a lot of talent, but in an offense that couldn't decide what it was going to be last year. And it kind of, I felt like in the beginning of the season, they looked like they were going to be Paul Johnson's like rambling wreck, run the ball 40 times a game. And then at the end of the year, it was like, we don't even run the ball anymore. Like, I don't know that the offense ever had an identity that they stuck to for more than a month, right? And I think it was always a work in progress last year. I'd love to see what these guys can do together. Josh Palmer, supposedly, if you're into metrics, got open as good as anybody in the NFL last year.
I'm into metrics.
For Josh Palmer, 8th best man separation. Score. Yep.
And, you know,
Keon Coleman, 54th. Matt Collins, 71st. Khalil
Shakir, which it is Khalil.
82nd.
Yeah. So it just goes to show you got probably now all of a sudden, if you believe this shit here, which is a metric, we're into metrics, top 10 man separator in the league. You just got him for what? $12, $15 million a year?
3 for 36.
You got a $300 million quarterback. You can't be paying all your wide receivers $25 million a year. Like, there's got to be some Josh Palmers in there. And I think what we discovered last year is they can make it work. And hopefully this is the guy, I think in their minds, like they went and got Cooper as a Band-Aid for this problem. Now this guy is a little bit more, it's a more permanent Band-Aid, right? Like younger, more permanent Band-Aid.
How about a destination for Diggs, that team that Josh Palmer was on, a team that needs a wide receiver? How about the Chargers?
I kind of like that. I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all.
You know, they need a couple guys. They got Mike Williams, but
I don't hate that at all. I mean, who are the other really relevant great teams without wide receivers right now? How about the Seahawks?
Yeah.
I mean, he can be their number 2.
How about the New York Jets?
I don't know that he'd be excited. Like,
Listen,
I'm not out on Justin Fields, but
What about
for that,
God's team there, Cowboy?
yeah, Denver. What do you think about Diggs in Denver?
I like Diggs in Denver. I almost like Amari Cooper in Denver a little more.
Cooper might be. I mean,
look out, New England Patriots.
nah, young quarterback.
Yeah, but Drake's not going to be bothered by a Stefon Diggs.
I'll tell you, he's not going to be bothered by 31-year-old looking ass Bo Nix. Bo Nix is going to be like, shut the fuck up, man.
Did you see him?
We're the same age
Did
or
you see
so.
him launching some footballs at the Nuggets and Avalanche games this weekend?
But
He was in the crowd. He was just like, Cortland Sutton had a face of fear.
No way.
Yeah, he was like free because Bo Nix launched one. Cortland was like, "Oh, where's it gonna land?"
At which game?
This was at the Nuggets game.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So he just threw it from courtside to like into the
No, he
stands?
threw it suite side. He was up in the suite. They were
Oh.
signing balls, and he was just like, "Swang!"
Who'd he throw it to?
Just somebody in the crowd. Hopefully, they had their
Hopefully they were
swivel
paying
head on.
attention. Jeez.
So their swivel.
Swivel head.
Cowboys, you're number 2, Marvin Mims Jr.
Yep, that's right.
You may want to look
Yeah,
at
you might
Devon
wanna-
Vele. Hey, a 27-year-old Devon Vele. He's not rookie age. He's up there.
Yeah, but
He's
you know
been
what?
around.
He was a true diamond in the rough.
Oh yeah.
Like, you really found somebody who, you know, it's not often that, like, guys a couple years in have a Zach Bond like, you know,
Yeah,
emergence.
exactly.
Now, Vele didn't have a Bond like emergence, but he had a Vele like
Yep.
emergence. Which
Vele had a Palmer-like emergence.
there you go.
Hasn't basically had.
But let me upgrade you.
upgrade old Stefon Digg.
There's not a lot going there.
There really isn't, and we need one. And it looks like we're going to go running back in the draft if we don't go wide receiver.
Yeah.
I saw the deal Rico Dowdle got, like Mina mentioned on the show the other day.
The Rico Dowdle thing.
Coming off a 1,000-yard season.
No, I like Rico Dowdle.
Yeah.
But the point is, they brought Javonte Williams in.
Right.
Same
But-
money.
Same money, but Javonte just hasn't looked the same after his injury. He's not coming off 1,000. He's a 1,000-yard back.
I know,
2
but I'm
3
saying
years
for
ago.
Dallas' standpoint, it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
brother.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Do you
And it's
think?
even-
Do you think this free agency thing? Do you think that with Jerry, how they don't like spending money? I kind of wonder if it's not so much that he doesn't have money, but it's more that he wants to have a lot of money. You know, because you following me?
Not quite.
Okay. When you hear owner not spending a lot of money, you think not an organization with a lot of cash fluidity, right? You think about some of these owners that are a little poorer. You know, they have ashtrays in their planes and shit. No, that's not true. The Patriots just went ham on Milton Williams. But you think about like Cincy and teams with reputations like that. Jerry Jones, you think he's rich as fuck. So it's a little surprising to me that this has become their MO. And so you might think, well, maybe he doesn't have as much money as you think he does. But I'm saying, on the contrary, maybe he doesn't want to part ways with any of it. And he's actually more concerned about being in the Forbes list. Like, that's his real Super Bowl.
Because he loves his family.
Well, yeah, you learned that on the fucking show about drilling.
Yeah.
Laying man.
Terrible show. Yep.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe have you ever considered that maybe like Jerry Jones is more interested in being one of the richest guys in the world than one of the best football owners?
Had not considered that. No.
Maybe more of a saver than a spender is what you're getting at.
Right. Yeah.
Just wants to be sitting on his monies.
That's why they never pay anybody. God, dog, run that back, Bo Nix. Run that back. Look at son.
Yo. Cortland's right. I mean, that could kill a child.
Bro, that arm angle there. You know, I'm super excited for him, bro. Why does his arm look so short?
Uh-oh.
Did you see that? Go back.
It's a big jacket. Big jacket.
No, look how short his arm is.
Oh, dear.
Watch.
Cowboy. Oh, no!
What's going on with Bo Nix's arm?
Was that an optical illusion?
I don't
the way
know.
the
Run that
camera-
back.
Oh! Baby
He might
arm.
have a short arm. Take my strong arm.
It's,
at that.
it's going out a little more.
Okay.
It's going out a little more.
I don't know.
It
That
looks a
arm
little
looks
different.
deformed, bro.
It's also backlit. See that lighting behind it?
Can you imagine if he had killed a kid with that football?
Oh. But I'm so happy sitting here. You know, he's sitting there with his number one wide receiver. He's a year in. He's thought of as one of the franchise quarterbacks. Like, who would have thought
Who would have thought?
that he'd be chucking footballs at a Nuggets game, 3-quarter release
And everybody cheering.
out of the suite, and people were like, "There's Bo Nix." Like, I would have said you were making that up last year.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome.
Agreed.
Maybe I'll be chucking to Stefon Diggs here pretty soon.
Maybe so.
I like it. Now
But we digress.
Maybe
He
Deontay
died.
Johnson.
Can we not? And I totally understand, like, his thought process, which is like, I'm a legit dude. I put up legit dude production. Why am I not being treated like a legit dude? Well, he also did some not so legit dude things in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just a bunch of yards. It was also a bunch of fucking head scratching mistakes. And then like all
Well, not just Pittsburgh.
no, I know all the stops
Yeah,
after
yeah.
kind of like so people don't think I'm as good as I want them to think I am. Well, let me distress myself as an asset even more by acting like a total asshole. It's not going to get better. Okay. Aaron Rodgers. It's the last topic before we get to our mentions. We're going to do mentions for free agency. Best flight, worst flight. If you don't remember mentions, that's from the regular season. So if you don't watch our Monday show, you're just going to be confused. Don't ask. Aaron Rodgers. It sounds like to me he has a place he wants to be, with good reason. If I were him, I'd want to be in Minnesota and not New York or Pittsburgh. In fact, I'd probably want to be in New York over Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. Neighbors,
Well,
Tracy, left tackle, like Dayball, who to me, Brian seems like a kind of guy who could work with Rodgers. Like Tomlin. I feel like at some point Tomlin might big boy Rodgers, and he might not like that.
yeah, and Arthur Smith would put him under center.
And Arthur Smith would put him under center. Well, the scheme doesn't work as well. Or he might have to put him in the gun, which doesn't feel like his offense, right? And then you've got two wide receivers outside who seem like they're going to be a lot to handle. And you're playing in a division with 1-2 defenses that can take your head off. And the other one, it's probably going to be dog shit, but they could draft 1 million guys. Do you want to play Myles Garrett every week? Do you want to play, the Marlon Humphreys of the world and the Matabikes of the world, the fucking, the list goes on. Okay? Or do you want to play in the NFC East where Philly just lost half their defense?
Yep.
The Commanders defensively are a respectable group, but don't scare anybody at
Lost
this
some
point.
pieces too.
Lost some pieces as well. And then the other football team,
Dallas.
the Dallas Cowboys, is the Dallas Cowboys. I honestly feel like if you put a gun to my head and said, hey, you got to go play quarterback for the Giants or the Steelers, and this, no offense to the Steelers, but this is not your typical Steelers team. They don't have a dominant defense unless it becomes a dominant defense over the offseason here. And the offensive line isn't anything that you get excited about, although they've been working on it. You lose Najee Harris, depending on how you feel about that. Warren's your guy. I don't know. I'd rather be in New York, I think, because of the division you're in and because of the upside of having that number one wide receiver. And am I crazy?
No.
No.
And
Because I don't know that Minnesota's an option, which is, I think,
And,
what we're getting to being the main issue.
I think expectations would be lower too. You don't have to go 9-8 plus. This franchise has been bad for a long time. You would be viewed as a bridge quarterback. So go out and ball out. Play free.
On the other hand, Minnesota has all the things you want. Easy media,
The
chill
good
coach,
players.
great players, division that maybe you can win. You had a chance to win it this past year with Sam Darnold, and for Aaron Rodgers, in his head, as bad as he's played relative to what he's used to being throughout the prime of his career, is in his head he's got to be man, Sam Darnold almost won the division there. I can win the fucking division, because that's the way his mind works. But I don't know that Minnesota wants him there, and I don't blame him. And it's not that I don't think his ceiling is still very high, but you seem to love this quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, and maybe you want a year for him to sit healthy. Maybe you want him to sit for 2 years. Maybe he's not ready. But do you think that it's going to be a good thing for the culture of the team to bring in Aaron Rodgers? For J.J. McCarthy to sit in the room with him for a year? I don't know.
Could be.
It could be, but it feels like the elephant in the room would always be so big that it'd be hard to really go through the process of learning and onboarding this kid as an NFL quarterback. It's just such a distracting presence. And I don't know that it raises the ceiling of your team enough. Now, this team's gotten a lot more physical. They've added guys on both sides of the ball. It feels like Chicago and Minnesota's kind of in an arms race to catch up to the Lions in the physicality department, right? I think they also look at it hey, if we get more physical, we can run the ball in the Lions too, because I don't think they're ready for that, right? Wishful thinking maybe. But the point is, I don't know that he works in O'Connell's scheme either. Does he?
No, it'd be a similar problem to what Macon mentioned with Arthur Smith.
And on top of it, I think that Kevin O'Connell, I love Kevin O'Connell, but you know how that's going to play out, bro. Like Kevin O'Connell is a quarterback and he's younger than Rodgers. That does factor in. Like if I was a defensive end and I was a coach and I was a really good coach, former player, 40 years old or so, and one of the best defensive linemen to ever play, who was a little bit of a distraction the last couple of years, wanted to come play. Like I would feel like at some point it would feel incumbent upon me to like cede some of the control and power to the better quarterback who's older than me, more famous, and it just seems like their personalities are way different. So I do worry about like what that would do to KOC. You know, like you kind of like I'm imagining when things go wrong that he's going to feel weird telling Aaron Rodgers what to do. Is that weird to wonder?
No. I think you're right. And I think it's a situation where a guy like Brian Dable would be like, all right, buddy, like fuck off.
Here's
what's happening.
I've been in New England.
Yeah.
And also like I kind of like your spots on McAfee.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Maybe.
And if this doesn't go well, I'm looking for work next year.
Yeah, like it's burn the ships mode. Kevin O'Connell, they're building something there. And so like that's my point. It's not like they're desperate. You know, New York, all for it. Cool.
The best fit for Aaron Rodgers is desperation.
Yeah.
Giants got that.
And it's the Giants.
Yep.
Giants are the best fit, man. And so if he's waiting on this Minnesota thing, it feels to me like maybe Minnesota they share my sentiment, which is like, maybe not worth it at this point in our journey. You know? Another thing that's interesting is it me or does Rodgers, you know how you become your dad?
Favre fanfic?
Yes, dude.
Yeah.
You know how you like, as hard as you try not to become your dad, you become your dad. And I'm not saying his dad is Brett Favre, but like, it feels like the whole journey is just.
This would be the cherry on top.
Are the Saints going to be in the NFC Championship this year? Like, is it just going to be that weird? But it is kind of weird. Like, I wonder if Aaron's, I know he's thought about this, and maybe it's the driving force between the whole, you know, for him following the Candyland board here. Mm-hmm. Like, and it leads to Minnesota, and he's always just wanted to be, and he's going to defraud somebody in retirement.
I think
he's going to defraud a wellness center.
I think truly because of that, it's another reason why he would not want that situation. I know you have more pieces there, but to be linked forever,
he wants to go. Why else do you think he's like? You know what I think is just as likely as him going to New York, him retiring.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that a guy like Aaron Rodgers is willing to like eat a shit sandwich year after year here.
Hey,
somebody that doesn't no, but like somebody that claims to love a lot more about life than football. You're at a point in your life where, like, to be honest, bro, if Rodgers if he wasn't a polarizing figure, most people would be sitting here and saying, you've done everything, bro. You've done everything you could possibly want to do. You've won a Super Bowl. You've won the MVP. I would put him as probably, you know how they say best and greatest? He might be, Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time. Patrick Mahomes is chasing him. Aaron Rodgers might be the best quarterback of all time. And by that, I mean, like, show me what you can do with this football.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, impress me with this football. Yeah. And some of the best throws I've ever seen, some of the best plays. I think that would count for a lot, but he's just become such a polarizing figure that now, like, the lens is totally different that we view him through. I think most people would tell him to go home, man. You popped your Achilles 2 years ago. You came out last year. You still look like the guy at times, but like the floor was also really low. So there is an element of like, what are you chasing? Especially for somebody who doesn't seem to love football as much as everybody else. Like there's and I'm not questioning his love for the game or his work ethic, but what I'm saying is like there's a lot of room in his life for other things. and you're now 40, 41, 42?
Well, perhaps it's the Ron Burgundy meme. I don't believe you. Your life is consumed by football, regardless of all the other things.
Right, and so you're trying to make all the other things seem important when really the thing that hurts you at night is the fact that you haven't gotten the second ring, or that the Green Bay thing didn't work out, or whatever. Like when your head hits the pillow like that. And I don't doubt it, because like, fuck, dude, I think we all have regrets, and we all look back and we're like, I wish it had gone differently. But I wonder if that's what's driving him. You know, like he's still trying to make up for the ending in Green Bay, which wasn't great. But if he just ride off into the sunset and not say anything, everybody would still be talking about Green Bay.
Yeah. And then he'd have,
Legacy's tough, man, when you're a quarterback. So go ahead.
if it's in Minnesota, you got to play a pretty good Green Bay team twice a year.
Yeah, that too, bro. That too.
Legacy danger.
That too. I mean, you play in that division, you're either playing out in the cold or playing on turf. You know, and I don't know that'd be the best for his body. You saw the way the offensive line ended up last year. Now, they were down Darisaw and that sort of thing. But that was the floodgates were open for Sam Darnold at the end of the year. This guy's not going to be able to move any better. And, you know, you're in a division where, in my opinion, Chicago is ascending in a big way. And it's not just about the signings. I think the quarterback's going to be a lot better next year. And then Detroit's still Detroit. Green Bay's still really physical. It just seems like, although all the toys are there, what good did the toys do Sam Darnold at the end of the year last year? Detroit is built like a football team. Green Bay is a big physical football team. Chicago's getting more physical. That division is going to stay tough. I would be in New York if I had a choice. I know Eagles fans who are listening are like, what? But we're in the NFC East. It's not even about that. It's not even about that.
Leaky neighbors.
Yeah.
Maybe entering prime Devontae Adams.
For Malik Neighbors, I go to hell.
That's right. 6 foot, 6'1", 210. Devontae Adams, great footwork.
Yeah.
Off the line, separation, can't touch me. Adams puts into the Aaron Rodgers puts into the breadbasket.
Is this an admission by Adams that he's had enough? That he's not like, yeah, I'll wait around to see where he's going?
Yeah, I think so.
Because, like, New York could use another wide receiver.
Yeah.
He could have been that guy in Pittsburgh. Not Minnesota, but anyways, maybe he already knows that. Maybe he knew all along, like, listen, it's Minnesota or nowhere, Devontae. So if you don't like Minnesota because there's too many mouths to feed there, then just go on down to L.A. and I'll see you in the next life.
Yep.
You mentioned the Eagles a second ago. What do you think of Mekhi Becton heading on to the West Coast?
Well, I think it helps that they got the dude from Houston, Green, the guard, who's still pretty young. They're looking at him like a distressed asset. And like we said, going into that negotiation period, and it played out the way we thought it would, right? When they made the trade and they got Green, people were like, well, what about Mekhi? We're negotiating with him. It gave them great leverage to, allow Mekhi to walk out the door. And, you could say, and I thought Mekhi was great this year, and I really enjoyed getting to know that guy. I always had I was pulling for him because Joe drafted him in New York, had injuries, couldn't control those things, maybe out of position. Expectations kind of crushed him a little bit in New York, and then, gets the lifesaver thrown to him, and he's down in Philly, coached by Jeff Stoutland. Like, his whole career changes.
Richmond kid. My kids once spent a morning there on spring break.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Jumping around.
That's right.
Fuck.
Like that guy.
I think they jumped around. So the point is, Howie's good, man. He had a contingency plan, and now it's going to work out. And you also have Steen as well, who's played some meaningful snaps. Like, the sky's not falling with the offensive line because Becton left. It's just the standard of that offensive line is to have 5 deep, like, good players. And so they can get that out of Green maybe with an offseason of development. And just by – okay, you know what playing opposite Justin Jefferson does? You know what playing next to Lane Johnson does?
makes you worse
No,
because he's doing so much.
no.
Okay.
No. It's the same thing. It actually might be even more important to play next to a guy like that because Lane Johnson is left alone as much as anybody in the NFL. And so the guy that plays next to Lane Johnson, and I thought Becton did some awesome things last year. He's in the catbird seat, whoever it is. Okay?
Yeah.
So they're gonna work that out. Okay, let's get into the mentions. I'll go first. Best flight. Start off with best flight. It's Mike Williams.
Mike Williams.
Headed back to LA. Weak wide receiver class. Okay. So let's go get a known commodity. Let's get a guy that our quarterback loves. Big target. Another thing where it's like nobody's going to want to play harder than Mike Williams. He is like Bill Murray in that fucking Christmas movie, dude.
Uncle Bob.
Nah, the one where he dies and it's terrible. And then he comes back and he's like, this is pretty awesome. Let me be on my best behavior. Scrooge. Or It's a Wonderful Life. Any of those theme movies. Mike Williams going to fucking
What
New
About
York.
Bob?
No, not What About Bob.
Okay.
What About Bob's more like when Michael Bennett and I played together.
Which role were you?
I was like the doctor.
Uh-huh.
You know, I was like, I understand you guys like this guy a lot, but he's making my life a pain in the ass. I got to give him a ride home every day and shit. He doesn't want to practice, but we're still best friends. But I think Mike Williams leaving, he got to see the other side, right? Catching balls from Aaron Rodgers, being on the wrong side of the red line, going to Pittsburgh, catching balls from Russ, playing in that offense. Like, said it was the worst year of his career. Had to be happy to come back to LA. And you know, like, much cheaper than what he was going to be to sign before. So it all just works out. 2022, when they signed him a couple years ago, supposedly Telesco texted Herbert that they were going to re-sign Mike, and Herbert ran upstairs to make sure that it was really happening because he loves Mike so much. So this is the best flight situation through and through.
Yep, that's a good answer.
Yeah.
Sometimes the best plan is a canceled plan.
Boy, isn't it?
Best flight is a canceled flight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go Ronnie Stanley.
Yes.
Staying in Baltimore.
Yes, going.
Think it's a huge signing. He gets $60 million over 3 years and gets to stay home. Hey, I took a flight to New Orleans about 6 weeks back. Still feeling the after effect.
Dude, how many weeks did it take? Because it took like 10 days for me.
Yes, still perhaps.
Really?
Yeah, about 3 o'clock every day, my body seems to break down.
Yeah.
I take 2 Advil, and it could be New Orleans related. So Ronnie Stanley.
Getting on board with this dying thing.
The flight. Yeah, memento mori.
It's like a slow shutdown, dude. I can feel it. Like they hit the button when you turn like 38 and it takes 42 years or so for the computer to shut down all the way.
Do you know what I have in 80 minutes?
Prostate exam.
A root canal.
No, yeah, well.
I've never had one. I haven't looked into what it is whatsoever. When the dentist, when the endodontist told me what she would be doing, I just, it sounds good. It wasn't blocked at all.
Yeah, I usually do that too.
Watch it. There's I'll send you a video on Twitter. Watch it after. I'll show you what they do to your tooth after.
Jeez.
But you'll be under, right?
Yeah, I said I wanted to be heavily sedated. I asked if they would play an audio recording of a John Grisham book.
He's been roasting John Grisham all morning because he had that basketball breakfast here in Charlottesville.
Yeah,
where John and him kind of get up there and
I'm just playing.
He does a little routine.
Highly successful author.
What'd you say about him? He's 70 years old, but his headshot's only 30.
I said, well, no, you've told it, so it'll not sound as great. John turned 70 this year. His promotional photo turned 35. Room went crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Room went nuts.
That's pretty good.
You've never seen.
Tell him the other one about the. Tell him about the books. Tell him about the books.
They brought me up, and the last line of they're bringing me up was and he owns every single John Grisham book ever published because, as you said, we needle each other. And then I take my seat and I said, yeah, it's always good to have a little kindling lying around. And then the moment after, I was like, oh,
Book burning.
Burning books is generally bad. But he said to me, he then said, don't worry about it. The words in those books are too big for you anyway.
Yeah,
So,
a little ribbon back and forth.
Little
Shout out John Grisham.
Shout out John Grisham.
My favorite book of his is probably Time to Kill.
Yourself?
No, it's a movie. They adapted it to a movie, so it's more consumable for me.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a suicide joke. Jesus.
Sorry, a little punchy. I got a serious procedure coming up.
It's like a non sequitur too, because
Well, you said I'm getting used to this. Like
I'm coming around to this dying thing.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
say I
yeah.
want to do it myself.
Sorry.
Kind of let things
man.
take their,
Sorry. Pelican brief. Like Pelican pretty long. That thing's hundreds of pages. Cowboy.
I speaking of death, real fast. I heard this thing the other day. Someone said they believe that what you're afraid of in your current life is what killed you in your past life.
Oh,
So, I'm terrified of snakes. Maybe I got murked by a snake in a previous life.
people.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. People.
I think Chris, you got killed by your phone. Just
Yeah, I was gonna say, did somebody bludgeon me with an iPhone 12? Did I have too many fucking requests
you were actually
come through on my phone?
you were whoever Alexander Graham Bell was competing against to create the phone.
Probably.
And theirs didn't
Yeah.
win the race.
Yeah. I don't know what else I'm afraid of anymore. Just bring it on, right?
Right.
I'm reading a book, Lost City of Z.
Oh,
You know that one?
yeah.
It's about
Good book.
It's a place in Brazil that people have been after this
Yeah.
lost city.
Made a movie
Because a
about
lot of the Amazon is still completely undiscovered.
Mm-hmm.
And, this little death wish of mine, I'm like, maybe I should go try to find all these other, maybe I should find the lost city. Now I'm only 30, 40 pages in, so no
Okay.
spoilers.
Yeah.
But thousands of people have died doing this.
Yeah.
Seemed like a good way to go out.
Yeah. I think the problem with going to the Amazon, like, you're like, oh, I want to get murdered one way. There's like 100 other ways before that one way that's going to get
You got to opt
you know?
in. You're
yeah,
opting
yeah.
in.
Opt into
Yeah.
surprise death.
Yeah.
If there's an untimely death, is like a Bleacher Report type site going to pull like 11, 12 clips, be like, well, he's asking for it.
What do you mean? Oh, me talking?
Yeah. Or is it going to be so sad and serious that we're not going
Oh,
to?
I think the internet would pull those.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. The
With like
Bleacher.
funny captions and stuff?
No, probably those scumbags at Deadspin probably will.
Yeah.
Pieces of shit. Does that even exist anymple?
I don't
I
go
don't think
there.
so.
I used to go there.
If Deadspin was a book, I would burn it. Terrible publication.
Kindling. It's hard to say the word kindling as a punchline. I decided to drop the D.
Let's get to worst
Yep.
flight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I went Kenny Pickett. He had that whole Chase Daniel path opening up. Riches, Super Bowl titles, nothing to do.
My third year in St. Louis,
Uh-huh.
I thought about joining the military on the topic. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
maybe I should go get into one of these global conflicts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm serious now.
I believe you.
I think I'll do the lost city in the Amazon. Go ahead. You were talking about Kenny Pickett.
And now I understand Ward and Sanders are currently still on the board, but might have to be starting quarterback in Cleveland. I mean, what's worse than expectations? Nothing.
I mean, I think the Cleveland thing is going to be one of the most interesting situations in the league. I think when you're looking at the draft right now, and maybe it's skipping ahead to a worse seat, I'll burn this one, but talking about the draft, Mayo Man might have the worst seat because I do think they're going to go quarterback with one. Look at all the beefing up on the offensive line they're doing. Nolan, who have they signed already, including an addition by moving Latham to right tackle, as you mentioned, Reed? Like, they're shoring up that offensive line.
Yeah, you bring Dan Moore in at left tackle, solid player, and that'll be what allows you to move JC over to right. And then also the Kevin Zeitler signing for them at guard, I think, was a big upgrade. For whatever it's worth, you look across the board from Moore to Skoronski to Cushenberry, Zeitler, and then Latham. For whatever it's worth, is probably the best offensive line in the AFC South, following the Colts' losses of Ryan Kelly and Will Fries, and then the Texans' O-line being in flux. So, I think you're right. I think everything's kind of being set up for a rookie QB to come to town.
Yeah. I mean, and you mentioned Cushenberry. He's another member of that LSU national championship team in 2019 that so far in free agency over the last 24 hours has made $666 million.
Look
Wild.
out.
Crazy.
Devilish.
Real devilish. Shit jumped out at me. So anyways, you had worst flight already. Kenny Pickett.
You know who else is a Titan?
Who else?
Johnny Hecker.
Oh, he's a Titan?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I didn't see that.
35 years old now.
He could punt till he's 50, probably. Worst flight, I'm going to go to the Patriots. What's up with the team plane? I missed this whole thing while I was out. They did the whole team report card thing. And they said the team plane's terrible. They said they have ashtrays in the armrest, which to me, it sounds like that plane's like old enough to be dangerous.
Yep.
Because like when were they smoking on airplanes?
We were kids.
In the 80s?
Well, yeah, 80s, right?
When did they stop smoking on airplanes, Reed? They got an F in travel. And I can remember when I was a Patriot, the thing that I really remember being awesome was the travel. Now, I don't know if they switched planes since our team, but I can remember complimenting the way we traveled, not only the plane, but the way they seated the plane. They let the veterans sit up front, the whole thing. I didn't think they spared a single expense. And I was talking about it on this pod, and one of the few texts I got from Bill after I left was like, thanks for complimenting our travel. That was really cool of you. And I wasn't lying. So for me to see that this plane...
Smoking on U.S. domestic flights was banned in 1990.
This is an 80s plane.
Any flight touching the U.S. territory, 2000.
So this is either an antiquated plane or a plane from like Pakistan.
This plane, no Wi-Fi, still as you mentioned, still has the smoking.
That's crazy.
They were purchased. They have two of them purchased for $10 million from
what?
From
10 a
two.
pop?
Yeah, purchased from American Airlines for $10 million. Unclear if that's two a pop or 10.
I think that's $5 million a plane,
That's
dude.
yeah.
Holy shit! This is like going to Dollar General for a Boeing 767. Seriously,
Just put a wrap on it.
you mean to tell me that the fucking defensive tackle who just signed with the Commanders from South Carolina,
Javon Kinlaw.
by way of San Francisco, Javon Kinlaw, you're telling me Javon Kinlaw can afford like four big fucking airplanes?
Not yacht money anymore. It's Boeing 767
Seriously,
money.
these planes are pieces of shit. If I was on the Patriots, I would strike. I'm not getting on a plane like that.
Players also feel that their travel schedule is not very efficient.
Players said our plane is the worst thing. Size, space, safety. It is not conducive to preparedness for athletic performance.
It sounds like the plane sucks. And that's news to me because Bill had that thing. Man, it was awesome. Bevel Conway, DK Metcalf in Pittsburgh. I think he's going to look great in that uniform.
You're right.
There's nobody, I mean, like, he might be the most menacing looking Steeler of all time.
Has he picked a number?
Now, I don't want to, I know there's some Steelers fans who are going to be like, yo, Levon Kirkland. I'm not saying like true. If you had no context for who the football player was. And you just were like walking down the street and you saw DK Metcalf, 6'6", dark visor, muscles on muscles. Looks like an avatar, bro.
Yep.
He's going to be wearing one of the most iconic uniforms in football.
Going to be wearing the number 4 as well.
He's going to look pretty cool.
All right.
Bosa to Buffalo, too. Bosa's going to look cool in Buffalo. Might be their best white edge since Aaron Schobel. Buffalo fans remember him. I loved Aaron Schobel, bro. He was awesome. Nobody knows who he is. 80 career sacks.
I'm worried that you're not going. I'm not worried. I think you're not going to agree with me on this one. Cowboy, I just texted you the picture. You can find it on the internet too. I like these Jets unis. I like Justin Fields' vibe, his
Nolan.
aura.
He's with you.
Thank you. I like the number 7 for Justin Fields. I did a little homework here. Here were his choices. Numbers 4, 7, 8, 16, and 17. He opted for 7. I think it's dope. Another visor guy.
No, he looks cool. He definitely looks cool.
It just does it for me too.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yep. That's good enough for a couple wins right there.
He was in Dubai when the news broke of his new deal. I saw a picture. He was at sort of a Benihana's kind of thing. You know?
And he was with Micah Parsons, Jordan Love, Bijan Robinson, and Kyle Pitts all in Dubai.
Just
dudes. There must be
dudes.
an NFL like trip.
Like
right?
sign up, like it's like the high school trip, like spring break, but the NFL puts
Could
it
be
on.
a
It's
USO
like sign
tour.
up.
I don't want to say it is because like most people probably be like, "Hey, you idiot!" They just go to the base for a USO tour. But like, I'm not really sure. It's not a Benihana. There's just sparklers. But you can imagine if it was. And so he's with dudes from other teams at this table?
That's right.
Interesting. I don't know what they were doing over there together. Dubai, that's one place I'll never go. It just doesn't appeal to me.
Agreed.
Like, at all, dude.
Cosign.
Whoa, everybody's so rich. Awesome. Now me less so because I had to fly to Dubai and stay in Dubai. All right. Let's go to best seat because I don't have an anti. Do you have an anti?
I do.
Who is it?
Big time.
Oh, who is it?
Najee Harris in the Chargers uni.
Really?
There needs to be a speedster at running back in that uni.
'Cause
Not
it's
a,
all white.
Not a thumper.
He's all white.
Yes.
It's all white. He's going to look too thick.
Correct. You need a Jameer Gibbs type at running back in that Chargers uni.
You might be right.
A Devon A-Chan, if you will,
You might be. I will.
type in that uni. The signing is fine.
He was taking shots at the Steelers' resources with the facility and that sort of thing. It's quite interesting.
Best seat.
Best seat, Mo Cheeks.
Did
Did you see that?
No.
Maurice Cheeks?
Yeah.
Okay, so back in the day, Natalie Gilbert was 13 years old and sung the national anthem. Now, you've probably seen this.
Right.
Where she was really struggling through it.
Yeah.
And Mo Cheeks came and helped her.
Yeah.
Mo Cheeks, who's now an assistant coach for the New York Knicks, was in town, and they were playing the Blazers, and Natalie Gilbert came back 26 years later, aged 39, and sung the national anthem again.
Wow.
And crushed it. She sounded awesome. And Maurice Cheeks is sitting there like a proud dad, dude. Look at him. It's one of the most altruistic things I've ever seen somebody do.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like, you can tell Mo Cheeks is not up there trying to get some shine. He's just like, let me help this little girl who's struggling through the national anthem.
Yep.
And now, over a quarter century later, she's back.
She learned the words.
And she smoked it.
That's awesome.
I think the
That's very
moment
cool.
was too big for her the first time. And Mo Cheeks was there. So best seat, Mo Cheeks. Back to the NFL. Best seat, Kyle Juszczyk. He got a fake funeral, dude.
Mm-hmm.
He got the
Best.
fake funeral treatment, which is the best thing in
Good
football,
call.
where you get cut and everybody's like, oh, my God, I love you. I love you, Kyle. Let me tell you all the stories about all the ways you've affected my life as a fan.
Yep.
And all his teammates are like, oh, my God, dude, you're just the best.
Yep.
can't believe he's dead. And then he's back. $8 million, 2 years. Yeah, we'll sign the tight end from Jacksonville and bring back Kyle Juszczyk. Best seat.
My best seat is Cowboy Reed.
Didn't have to work.
Nope. Hufanga,
Oh, yeah.
Greenlaw.
Mm-hmm.
I like the club, man.
Your old guy.
I don't like that so
Okay.
much.
Hey, that might be an anti-bevel.
Yeah.
Think about, like, coming from San Francisco, no offense.
no. Agreed.
Like it's
yeah.
going to look, I mean, but like Greenlaw and Hufanga, like switching from that uniform to that uniform,
Agreed.
like that uniform's just not.
It can hit. Our uniform can hit.
Yeah, when you wear
Right.
the fucking throwbacks.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
But it can miss. It sure can
It
miss.
can mess. You can
Those
look like
dudes can
UTEP.
hit.
Yes.
little
On the weeks we look like UTEP, not so much.
little push broom stripe you got up your side.
Yeah.
So one more best seat, Minnesota's linebackers. Okay, they're sitting there and they're like, holy shit, they brought Jonathan Allen up here. Who else did they bring up? They signed another defensive tackle.
Ron Hargrave.
Yeah, Hargrave the same day. Two guys who have proven a lot in this league that can still play. I mean, like Allen's production has dipped over the last couple of years, but Minnesota wasted no time in beefing up the offensive and defensive line, really, with Kelly and Fries and now Allen and Hargrave. So, you talk about like a team getting stronger, and the guys that are going to benefit are obviously guys behind these guys. I mean, that's got for Pace and those cats. They're pretty excited. Metellus, the whole gang of guys that play on the second level for the Blake Cashman. They're going to have a lot of fun with these guys in front of them.
And Harrison Smith, he's got another
He's
year.
back.
He's back.
For just a cool $14 million or whatever it was.
A couple of your best answers
Hitman.
right there. It was
Hey,
really well
it's
done.
pretty easy. Thank you. It's pretty fucking easy to come back for just one more when they're like, hey, yeah, here's another 15. It was way harder to come back for just one more back in the 90s.
Yeah, 10 million for Harrison Smith.
10.25.
10 mil? 10 mil.
Yep.
Nothing to shake his stick at either. Worst seat, Haas Reddick.
Buck.
Yeah, well, I think he's actually going to end up in a really happy place, and he's going to play well this year. I think I would assume. Listen, the word in Philly was just not bought into the whole group mentality. You know what I'm saying? I mean, part of that is just sometimes if you want to stay on a great team, you got to take less. You have to be, and that's the reality. And he decided, hey, I'm going to hold out in New York. He held out with the same deal that he took this year on the table, and now he ends up with that very same deal. But so when I wrote this out, I said worst seat. But in all honesty, it might not be the worst seat when you think about it, because was it worth sitting out and not actually experiencing most of that Jets season?
Yeah. Flip side, there's an alternate reality where he's a Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagle.
I know. It is kind of worst seat, but the worst seat started when he decided, hey, I don't want to be a part of this Philly thing.
Yep.
And then had to go to New York. But, like, this is actually maybe a worst seat turned best seat, because this could catapult his career back onto the right track.
Yeah.
In my opinion, because he hasn't forgotten how to rush, man. He's going to play next to, Vita Vea and Diaby. I like Diaby. So, I mean, you talk about a group now where they were really lacking an edge rusher. And here you go. That's what he does. So maybe best seat, maybe worst seat, depending on how you look at it. And, like I had old players like myself, but I'm not going to complain again. I'm just talking about players who are older and are looking at these deals. When these deals weren't on the table, this was an interesting tweet that Nolan sent me earlier from Front Office Sports. When Jack Nicklaus won the first Players' Championship in 1974, he earned $50,000. Rory McIlroy just won the 2025 Players' Championship and earned a PGA Tour regular season record $4.5 million. That's the way it goes in sports.
Well, the money goes up, generally.
Yep. Money changes generally as well. But I wonder if adjusted for inflation, $50K is $4.5 million. I don't think so.
Hard to know.
Hard to know?
Yeah.
I don't have the calculator.
I don't have the app.
You have a worse seat?
Worst seat, these teams in need of a receiver, we've talked about it. There are a bunch of them. New England, Los Angeles Chargers, Denver, New York Jets. It's just getting late early at that receiver party in a not so receiver laden draft.
Could be in Pittsburgh. I mean, for the same reason with quarterback, obviously we've already hit it, but like, ugh. If they end up with nobody,
That'd be bad.
you're right though. The draft is not. I mean, from what I don't watch as much college football, but people talking about this wide receiver draft like it's just not the one. So
Yep.
if you missed out, you really missed out. That's a helpless feeling.
Yep.
It's kind of like the impending doom feeling after a fantasy draft, which I'll never do again.
Oh,
I've retired
Congrats.
from fantasy football.
freeing, I bet.
Oh, it feels so good. Feels so good. Fly on the wall. Minshew and Mahomes in the same quarterback room. I don't know that people aren't making a big enough deal about this.
I missed that.
Isn't Minshew in Kansas City?
That's wild.
It was very under the radar. It was one of those
Wow.
Saturday morning drops.
Minshew and I want to play you what I think it would sound like. Minshew. This is my fly on the wall. All right.
All right.
Well, this is what I think it would sound like.
He called me and told me you're throwing grenades down here south of the border. I got my Escalade. Vamonos aquí pronto vato.
Oh, that's when you
To
came
see
here
you.
to see me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You gotta trust me. I'm not down here to tickle fucking balls.
I hope not.
I chase my dream. I got it. I suck. My dream's cock.
It's just it's from Eastbound and Down. If you remember when Kenny Powers was in the Mexican League and Matthew McConaughey was the Texas scout and came down to see him and kept dangling like playing for the Rangers in front of him, and he was like, "Nah, but if you improve a little bit, you can come to Myrtle Beach." Honestly, like if two actors had to do voiceovers for these two quarterbacks, it would be Danny McBride and Matthew McConaughey, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, biopic,
Yep.
Danny McBride, Matthew McConaughey.
Did you watch the Bradley Cooper episode of Gemstones?
No, I've skipped Gemstones.
It's worth watching that one.
Okay.
The first episode.
Goggins is in Gemstones.
Yeah, Jack. Shit, yeah, he is.
Fuck yeah, he is. Is that what he says a lot in that?
And-
Shit, yeah?
No, that's me. Yeah.
Well, no, I just think it's going to be super interesting with these two guys in the same meeting room. What are they going to talk about mostly? I can just see Minshew acting like he's interested in Taylor Swift. Like, oh, cool.
I can't picture they're getting along. Not that they wouldn't get along.
Oh, I picture them getting along pretty well.
I can't picture
Minshew and Mahomes. Oh, I picture them getting along pretty well.
I can see it being entertaining.
Very entertaining, and I think they're going to get along well. STL Memorial. Let's go Howie Roseman, even in a cycle where there's no big splash, right? You know, the big splash is like taking care of Zach Bond and that sort of thing. But look at all the comp picks they ended up with in 2026. Did I read 12 picks in the 2026 draft? I think 5 in the top 100.
5 top hundies. Yep.
And these are all comp picks as a result of things like Mekhi Becton. And so when you add that to the fact that just a little thing like the Uche deal spread the cap hit out over like 4 years with void years, like it's just,
Yeah.
he's just always doing he's just always fucking with stuff. And then every year you're like, oh, wow. That's a additional perk of having Howie Roseman as the GM. They have those moments pop up all the time. So Eagles may not be they might not be the scariest team on grass this year because of the defensive departures. But again, like 2026, they're going to load up on young talent again.
Yep.
This is what's called sustaining an organizational run.
Yeah, they'll load up on young talent on the defensive side, and you give guys like you mentioned before, Chris Morrow, Jomo, Jalix Hunt. These guys have opportunities to step up this year. So
Alignment. Everything just seems to be in alignment. Everything seems to be like planned out. And even the knee-jerk moves seem to work. So Howie Roseman, STL Memorial.
I went Justin Reed, safety, NFL. He's now a New Orleans Saint, which is different than being a Chief. However, the saving grace is that he's from Louisiana.
Yeah, that helps.
Like that guy.
Yeah, Justin Reed's cool.
Maybe now balling in obscurity in New Orleans.
For sure.
Here
But he
for a
got the
little
bag, hometown.
Yep.
That's great.
Yep.
Speaking of Chiefs, Wharton got 54. 3 years, $54 million. And I thought he played really well. St. Louis guy. Playing for the Chiefs. Good for him. That's just a general good for him.
Good for you.
Game ball. I guess I give the game ball because any activity is like all activity is good activity in the first week of free agency because everybody's like, oh my God, look at shock and awe. Look at what the Bears are doing. Oh my God. I think it's probably the Bears. Not saying that I necessarily think they're all going to work out the best, but they're going for it. And you have to do that. You absolutely have to do that. And I think also Poles doesn't have a long leash anymore. So you have to be aggressive. Look at what our guy in Indy did. I mean, he went out and invested in that defensive backfield immediately with guys like Ward and Bynum, Chris Ballard, immediate commitment to burn the ships because it's that kind of situation for him. I mean, he brought in Danny Dimes.
Hollow man Anthony Richardson. When Danny Dimes Jones is viewed as a help.
Well, I don't know that people are viewing him as a help, maybe internally, but everybody outside the building is probably making fun of the fact that somebody signed Danny Dimes,
Yeah.
which kind of sucks. I feel like he's one of those QBs that's not as bad as people think he is because of his draft status.
Exactly.
Everybody turned him into this the worst person ever, the worst player ever. Who knows? He might have to play some meaningful football for them next year, and I think the team should be improved. It has to be. Same thing with Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson ended up in Miami. It's kind of an under the radar thing. I'm not saying it's going to work out, but what I am saying is he's going to play down there at some point. Whether Tua gets hurt or whether they have to turn to him. Last year they played 3 or 4 guys outside of Tua, and they had a terrible time. So they're definitely not it's not like an afterthought. There's a reason whoever they took as their QB2 this year or whoever they went out and got to fill that room, they expect him to play. And it's a very, there's intent anytime you sign a backup quarterback, but the Miami backup quarterback is as important as any quarterback in the league, as any backup quarterback in the league. And it's also one that you're pretty sure is going to play. And it's coming off a season that Miami should have been in the playoffs if they could have gotten better play out of their backup quarterbacks.
Yep.
So Zach Wilson, I mean, who knows? Maybe he sticks down there and maybe he does a good job.
I'll give a game ball to the exact same situation that you gave yours to, just a different club. Joe Shane, only because the additions of Javon Holland and Paulson Adebo now make you think you're competent.
Mm-hmm.
Now make you think you're only the quarterback away, which is
that defense is
big
going to be
piece.
fun.
Yeah.
Defense is going to be fun. I thought the Pats did a good job too. I mean, listen, again, it could blow up in their face. Milton Williams could end up being a really good Robin, not a Batman, right? That could be the book on him in a year or two. But they went out and got him. I really like, from a cultural standpoint, the Spillane thing.
Mm-hmm.
Landry is a guy who he got hurt. He's still been productive very quietly. People kind of wrote him off, but he's still productive as fuck.
Do you see what number Spillane's wearing?
What's he wearing?
14, linebacker.
No way.
14.
That's cool.
I mean, they were very active. And then you got your teams like the Cowboys who aren't doing much of anything.
Who'd they sign?
Well, they
What was
signed
their
a long
long snap?
snapper. I can't remember
Trent
his name.
Sieg, right?
So Trent Sieg.
Yeah.
It was a big deal.
Got him locked up.
So anyways, it's just all over the map. And of course, does this stuff interest me? Absolutely it does. But this is all just on paper. We don't know what these teams are going to be. Just because somebody signed doesn't mean it's a good signing. I can remember when Buffalo got Von Miller, right? I'm looking at Bosa's name on the page and I think most people understand that he hasn't played a ton over the last couple of years, but there are signings like that where the ceiling is really high and the floor is high too because of the player's age and that sort of thing. I just don't want to get out over our skis and analyzing the final product here. We haven't even gotten to the draft. I mean, and when we get to the draft, we're not going to know who those players are until the fall. So, again, it's just March, but that's where we are. And now it's time for college basketball. Macon, talk about college basketball because I haven't watched a single minute this year. Although I did go to a Virginia game in person.
I think there's still capital M madness in this tournament, but I think the cream of the crop this year is so far head and shoulders above everybody else. All right? So, most every team in college basketball has a bunch of new faces this year than they did the prior year. That's a new world we live in. I have a working theory that because no teams, as presently constructed, can look back on past tournament success, that the teams that got elite and stayed elite in these 5 months this season are going to have a better shot in this format of beating other teams that only came together 5 months ago, as opposed to in the past when we had great teams be together for 3 or 4 years.
So you're saying if the team has stayed together over the course of this past season,
I'm saying the competition is going to be less than.
right?
So I think 4 1 seeds are going to make the NC2A Final Four
Jesus.
for the second time in history.
Wow.
Ugh.
It only happened in 2008 when it was Kansas, Memphis, UNC, UCLA. All right, Ken Pom, listen up. Measures offensive and defensive efficiency, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since 99, every single team has had a top 20 offense and top 20 defense, except for 1 year, 2014 UConn. There are 6 such teams this year
Hit me with 'em.
top 20 offense and top 20 defense.
Okay. Tell me St. John's.
The Duke Blue Devils,
All right.
Florida Gators, Houston Cougars, Auburn Tigers, Tennessee Volunteers, and the Iowa State Cyclones.
Eek.
Now, Iowa State is not healthy, so you can scratch off Iowa State.
Okay.
But one of those other 5 is going to be your national champion.
Unless they're 2014 Connecticut.
13 of the past 17 national champs, including the University of Virginia, has been a 1 seed. More 1 seeds, it stands to reason.
That Tennessee will not.
More than any other seed.
Fuck Tennessee.
Don't overthink it. If you like Tennessee, I don't hate it.
No, I don't like Tennessee.
I don't hate it.
I gotta now I gotta decide who I like the best out of these 1 seeds.
Exactly.
Well, I'm not a Pearl guy.
I'm not proud of this, but it takes guts to pick 4 1 seeds. all
I
right?
like Houston. Give me Houston.
I would love for them to get over the hump. LJ Cryer, good player. My champion is the Duke Blue Devils. One of the best teams I've ever seen.
Wow, that's big for you.
Flag's got to be healthy.
One of the best
obviously.
teams you've ever seen.
Yes.
They're that good.
Yes. When they were
How
here,
gross is it?
they played hard for 40 minutes. Less gross because Shire
Did
isn't
you like Shire?
Krzyzewski.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like him by any means,
Yeah.
but it hurts a little less. Yeah.
Fuck.
I know.
All right. How about an upset in the first round?
Upset? Sure.
He's looking for one.
Nah. Hey, 11 seed has won a round 1 game in every tournament since 2005. You understand?
Yeah, I understand. I think Drake's taking down Missouri.
Yeah, that's going to be very popular. Missouri's good,
Okay.
but sure, Drake is capable of where the fuck.
See, it's
All right. Okay. Yeah, I like UCSD. The Tritons get past Michigan. If Carolina can win their first 4 game, I think they get by Ole Miss. First 4 teams go on runs. They win games that first weekend. Think Carolina could get by that unhealthy Iowa State club. Really like a Sweet 16 matchup of Texas Tech and St. John's. Thinks Texas Tech could get those guys. Grant McCaslin, great coach. BYU and VCU. Flip a coin. That winner could go places.
On BetMGM, number 9 Baylor is 1.5 point favorites against number 8 Mississippi State. and number 12 Colorado -2.5 against number 5 Memphis.
Yeah, that's Colorado State,
Colorado State's. Thank you.
coached by the great Nico Medved. Memphis is not healthy. Tyrese Hunter is hurt. It's going to be a fun tournament. Hey, in that East, Chris, I like a 12-13 in the second round, huh? Liberty and Akron. Liberty representing the Commonwealth with the VCU Rams.
A lot to do about UNC making this tournament. Are you in that camp, or do you support their resume?
I support it. I feel like I'm getting soft. I support it. Look, quadrant 1, I get it, 1 and 11. Every other metric, including things like eye test and vibe test, they pass. I understand Cooper Flagg did not play, but they were within a point of the number 1 seed Duke Blue Devils. Carolina earned a spot. I'm sorry, West Virginia. Win more games. You want to be in the tournament, win more basketball games.
Yeah. You don't hear us complaining.
Don't hear us
We
complaining.
didn't win enough games.
That's right. Duke over Auburn.
So I can skip this one.
That's the answer. Got the answer key right here.
I'm going to put a lot on the Johnnies. After hearing that.
Round 2 could be Patino Calipari.
So if I were to put like, because these games start what, Thursday?
Mm-hmm.
If I were to put a Friday, like say a Friday game, Friday's where I anticipate being liquored up to where I want to put a lot of money on a basketball game.
Mm-hmm.
Give me one.
I need to look up who's playing Friday.
You don't know much, do you? You don't know the whole schedule? Oh, here it is. Cowboys got it.
I like.
I'm going to tell you who my heart's going to be behind on Friday, because this is usually how I bet the NCAA tournament, which is why books love the NCAA tournament. Okay.
Like Akron to cover that 13.5.
Robert Morris just sounds like a cigarette to me. And I'd love to see them beat Alabama.
Uh-huh.
Cigarettes defeat Alabama for the millionth time. I never liked St. Mary's. I don't like the spider. I hate their logo. I'm probably going to pull for Vanderbilt.
What's the spider?
Aren't they a spider?
They're the Gales.
It kind of looks like a fucking spider.
It does
dude.
look like a spider.
Is that what?
Yeah.
Pull up their logo. It's a piece of shit.
I think it's a little crest with like a G in it.
Yeah, it looks like a spider to me.
Okay.
Does that not look like kind of like spidery?
Yeah, spidery-ish. Sure.
Gales, dude. Get the fuck out of here with that. All right. Okay. I'm going to take.
Hey,
I'm definitely going to be rooting for Ole Miss if UNC gets in. How about Grand Canyon, bro?
here's the thing. Maryland's super duper good.
Oh, fuck.
Grand Canyon's going to be a popular upset pick, I think.
Okay. How about Colorado,
I
Memphis?
think Maryland runs them off the court.
Colorado State, Memphis. I just watched Colorado State the other day.
Colorado State wins the game.
And here are your
Okay, there
Friday.
you go. There's a-
Here are your Friday evening games.
Oh, Friday evening.
That was just 12-4.
Oh, my God. I'm going to be obliterated at this point. Let's see. I'm going to pick the lucky winner right now.
Go UConn, right? They still the champ.
Norfolk State over Florida. How good's Florida?
Really, really, really good.
Fuck.
They have the best odds right now, plus 350 on BetMGM.
Their guards are excellent. However, if you're taking a future, I like them in that West.
Okay.
Maryland, Texas Tech.
Okay.
Get a little spicy.
There's your college basketball. Hey, one last thing. Did I remember the Baron Browning thing? How I said I was going to invest in him, and then I never did because I was like, this seems ridiculous.
So
And he just got paid.
He just got paid a 2-year deal that it's 2 years, $15 million, could be up to $19 million. And just a reminder for those fans about Baron Browning, it was a deal via Vestibule Investments.
Yeah.
He gave away between 60,000 and 100,000 shares. It would finish 65,340 shares. $10 a piece for an opportunity to have 1% of his future earnings. That kicked in last year, started with his 2024 salary, which you would have gotten a return of 47.5 47.5 cents in 2024, which would have been paid out in a monthly
Okay, but how
payment.
about in 25?
20 after this new deal?
If I put 10 grand in,
1450 would it be? You get
Zach Galifianakis, Jeff.
you
Can you
got
explain this to me?
yeah, 1450 per
investment.
share.
All investment
yes.
carries risk. This would have been a bad one.
All right, good.
But,
I walked away at the right time
Yes.
while still respecting Baron Brown.
Unless he
and
goes
being happy for him.
bonkers and like because it's continuous. You
Yeah.
know, basically for him, if he makes 52 million and some change throughout his career, he comes anything less than that, he comes out on top.
Unless he becomes Fernando Tatis Jr.
Yes.
I think you were right to stay away.
It was a good stay away.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen later this week. So you might hear from us later in the week, but I'm going to go on a short vacation, and we'll be back at it soon. So check your notifications.
What is up? It's the Butter King Dairy Expert. This episode of the Greenlight Podcast is brought to you by Daya Pizza, featuring dairy-free cheese, now made with Daya Oat Cream Blend. Let's talk about FOMO. Fear of missing dairy. It's real. We've all had it. The Butter King has certainly had it. I know when you hear about dairy-free cheese, you get a little skeptical, especially if you're a cheese and butter lover like me. But Daya's set out to create the ooeyest, gooeyest dairy-free cheese pizza there is with absolutely no trade-offs. Daya pizzas are dairy-free and still deliver the rich, savory taste and total satisfaction that everyone craves and demands when looking for a frozen pizza to take home. Daya pizzas hit all the marks. Thin, crispy crust, flavorful toppings, including meatless options that taste meaty, and cheese that's rich, stretchy, and melts just like dairy. All thanks to their innovative Daya Oat Cream Blend. Daya has cured my FOMO, and now you don't have to fully commit to a dairy-free lifestyle to enjoy it. Thank God. So next time I'm in the great state of Wisconsin, home to a lot of great dairy products, I might actually trick everyone and have some dairy-free cheese pizza. Make your next pizza night FOMO free with Daya. To learn more about Daya, please visit www.dayafoods.com. Check them out on Instagram and TikTok, or visit any major retailer across the U.S., including Whole Foods, Kroger, and Walmart. Coming soon to select Publix and Sprouts.